MSD podcast, Brave Actions Taken. This podcast will cover information from an interview and previous article I wrote on Leo Prinsloo and how he foiled an armed heist. From the training ground to the battlefield, the facts behind what enabled Leo to foil a multiple vehicle armed heist are testament to his tenacity and specialist capabilities. In the closed shop, low to no profile of elite close combat proponents and leading instructors, the matter of facts can be very different than general public perception as far as the realities of high-level violence, best means and methods of threat neutralization are concerned. The reality is, on the battlefield, that includes the urban battlefield, facts are very different to fiction. Leo has been thrown into the global spotlight because of his actions of recent, and this podcast will provide an insight into his lifetime of pursuing excellence as an operator and instructor and the special attributes and skill sets he possesses. Leo, like other South African operators and instructors that have joined the ranks of the Todd Group, did so because they need skills superior to the enemy, and in any unarmed actions on, that means best of battle proven, foul or deadly tricks brigade skill sets. After the now late Captain Ben Mangles left the continent, there was no military CQC MSD Master Chief Instructor providing the bag of dirty tricks type training he was. Ben was a close friend of mine and fellow Close Combat Instructors Association senior member that I had trained with and from, and we had instructed joint training together. He endorsed my provision of training in South Africa, and after having two South African operators in Keith and Andre attend a course I conducted in Thailand, the decision was made to conduct training in South Africa. Leo and Trevor Langfeld attended the first course and were the only two candidates to volunteer for and pass the testing phase, and Leo has attended all courses I've conducted in South Africa ever since. Leo is the Todd Group South African Chief Instructor and attended the first group week-long course in South Africa back in 2013. He has been course manager for our exported courses to South Africa and has hosted our training there, including training for groups of wildlife, law enforcement and security protective personnel. He identified himself from the outset as a highly committed close quarters combat exponent with extensive operator experience. He has extensive experience as an operator and specialist skills instructor, including serving in the police special task force and equivalent of the military elite as an operator and instructor, rising to the rank of captain. He was with the Special Task Force for 12 years and spent the last 4 years in the role as Chief Instructor for the Task Force Snipers. He has extensive experience as a CPO, including protection of presidents and royals, as well as being a CQB Specialist Shooting Instructor. Leo now works for Fortis Proactive Defence Solutions, where he is a Chief Instructor of Firearms and Advanced Driving Training. Being the true professional he is, he always ensures he is current in the roles and duties of those under his training, including having an extensive knowledge of the likely risks, dangers and threats. He drives the routes, knows the layouts, and this is very important for ensuring the tactics and skills training he provides is based on the most current knowledge and understanding of the threats and the best means of neutralizing them. He makes sure he keeps current and up to speed with the threat environments by driving on jobs when time permits, and it was during driving on such a job that his vehicle was targeted and he foiled his armed aggressor's attempted heist. Leo's father served in the Defence Force, and this, along with the next-door neighbour who was a police officer, influenced Leo towards a military or law enforcement career that led to him joining the police at age 18. When I introduced the Brain to Boot mental toughness enhancement training for military self-defence and military close quarters combat and offered the manual to course attendees in South Africa, Leo recognised the major importance of such vital training and actively took on board the skills, applying them to his CQC MSD training. Leo considers 100% mental toughness is what is most required to overcome the adversity of violent threats. All the skills in the world amount to little if you do not have that 100% mental toughness and an uncompromising commitment to objective achievement. This is not about flash and dash, or how high you can kick, or how good you look fighting arts-wise. This is about tactically correct threat neutralization, decision-making, backed up by high-level specialist confidence and capabilities specifically for neutralizing high-risk threats. Leo points out that many fighting arts techniques would be suicidal on the battlefield, where you are facing armed violent criminals that won't hesitate in killing you. Even on CQB shooting courses, before the first weapon is handled or first round is fired, he begins with the realities of using one's weapon in an actions on. The importance of self-control, intestinal fortitude, and the realities of the effects of live fire in a real life or death actions on, as well as objective achievement and outcomes considerations, are what matters most. The fact of the matter is, range shooting competency with targets that do not fire back is very different to a kill or die actions on. Over or under action, panic before decision making can change an individual's life in a millisecond, and operators must understand the effects, outcomes, and consequences of getting it wrong. Being able to recognize and control or eliminate the effects of fear and stress, control respiration, and maintain primary physical capabilities are all most important combative capabilities that require specific training, and this was something that Leo understood and lives by. Leo is an advocate for my Brain to Boot mental toughness enhancement package and knows the importance of mind control, in that your mind is your primary weapon in an actions on. He has had a copy of the manual for many years, but more importantly, he understood from the outset the importance of the principles, tactics, and skills from being an operator and instructor with extensive actions on experience. He says tactical respiration for armed and unarmed combat not only reduces the effects of actions on hormonal dumping, but enables real-time, fast mapping assessment and decision making. On that urban battlefield, under armed assault, his prior training and extensive practice enabled him to see a picture that was somewhat slowed down, testament to his control and ready and preparedness under adversity to do what needed to be done. The picture unfolding, being seen as in slow motion, is testament to a high-level training and threat exposure combined with employing the major and minor practices that keep you in the controlled aggression zone of maintained primary capabilities. His tactical respiration ensured he could decipher real-time threat and make decisions in a controlled manner, as well as post-actions on be able to clearly remember all details. He did not allow the extreme dangers and high-risk nature of the assault to affect his capabilities. Leo did not come from a martial arts or combat sports background and only underwent basic level self-defense and unarmed combat training as part of his training in the Special Task Force. Leo knew he wanted and needed more CQC MSD training, which led to him signing up for the first Todd Group course in South Africa and identifying himself as a top exponent. He said he got a most in-depth experience through this European military close combat training, which was very different to what he'd seen being offered based on traditional or competitive styles. It's clear, to the point, and it is worlds away from the fighting for a medal when combating extreme violence, where it's all about winning, objective achievement, and going back home after a violent action's on. The methods, the means, the target areas, and the overkill level of threat neutralization are very different to non-operational practices. Not only are the selected target areas not allowed in competitive fighting arts, but they are certainly not ever targeted with live weapons to take an enemy out. The majority that base their opinions on everything other than best of battle-proven close combat for the battlefield practices, including what they see in the movies, as Leo puts it, need to wake up and smell the roses. It saddens him to see how the majority of the world have turned to or are being turned to everything but what they need to save their lives and achieve their objectives. He says that it never ceases to amaze him how individuals, deluded impressions of themselves after watching martial arts twice, believe that they are champions and experts. He describes such the talk but never walk the walk types using the strongest muscle in their body, their tongue, and nothing more. Unfortunately, a lot of people and military personnel are not committed to defensive tactics and close quarters combat training and will only undertake such training if they are ordered to and paid for doing so. Those with the smarts know when they need higher level skills and will seek out those that can provide the very best capabilities. The rest will not, which may not only endanger themselves but also their fellow operators. Many claim that battle-proven skills have not evolved, but if you evaluate their civilian styles practices, they often expose the user to increased danger through not being role, duty, and threat neutralization specific ways of winning. They promote techniques that simply could get you killed in combat, like wrestling or rolling around on the ground under actions on the battlefield with armed assaulters. Leo's decision-making under threat required practical decision-making, calculated, sudden aggressive actions, and having a primary weapon capability. There was no way he would ever consider grappling or ground fighting or taking the violent armed criminals he faced on with fisticuffs. Not only are there armchair experts, but also those that claim to be high-level instructors in close combat without ever having been qualified in it. Even the brass can make bad decisions when it comes to deciding on training options based on the word of others that have their own agendas or think they know better. In Leo's world, such practices as backhand salutes and political passes are met with discontent. He describes individuals that he has had the misfortune to cross paths with as being more interested in glamour and stroking their inflated egos than effectiveness. In the industries that he has had to work under the realities of it may come down to life or death, he has had to deal with individuals that don't know right from left and with attitudes that could only be described as stupidity, driven by arrogance, making them extremely dangerous company. One indicator of proponents' less than committed demeanor are those that complete the day's training with clean fatigues and not a bead of sweat, bump or bruise on their body. This speaks volumes of just how willing and committed they aren't. Leo maintains a high level of physical fitness through his hands-on training and his love of long-distance running. He started running when he joined the police and has become a passion over the decades, making it not only great for the body but also cheaper than therapy. He has done endurance events, road running, including the Comrades 90-kilometre marathon, which he has completed 22 times. He has also done his share of trail running, completing some runs over 100 kilometres. In Leo's words, when he joined the Todd group, it provided entry into in-depth military close combat training. Everything came together for him with the combined mental and physical tactics and skills that arm you with increased knowledge and capability. He is quick to point out that you must stay actively involved and maintain a current status to be best prepared to deal with violent threat neutralization. While many people take courses and claim to have learnt nothing, that comes down to being their own fault or the mere fact that they have hidden agendas. It is hard to believe, even from a low-level course, that an active participant would learn nothing, even if it was just learning the dangers of the delivered techniques. If the techniques learnt are to be considered dangerous or ineffective at minimum, this proves to you that your current skills are better. Leo expanded on the course he has undertaken in the Todd Group systems and how they revealed not only the specific means and methods of effective objective achievement, but also provided full strategies of practical applications of the skills, including contingency options to deal with actions on oh shit situations. He further explains that undergoing this training was a true awakening in body mechanics, subject manipulation, and the provided ripple effect to take down the target and finish the actions on. I asked Leo of his opinions of the Phase 1 basic test on the first course in South Africa, and he described it as brilliant. He said he had never felt so intimidated, and there was no misconception that this, like the week's training leading up to it, was far removed from the usual BS passed off as close combat. He described success and outcomes never being influenced by who you are, who you know, or who was assessing you. You need to be able to overcome stress, stay focused, be flexible and innovative, and mentally tough in the achievement of your objective. This test really challenged me, and unlike others, not in a false sense of achievement or ability way. It's certainly not for the types that want credibility by association or expect respect without doing the hard yards and earning their runs on the board. Outside of being an operator and instructor, Leo enjoys hiking and mountain climbing and finds that a good way to take his mind off of the stupidity of society and stupid people. He likes to keep busy and moving, and also enjoys spending time with his pet pit bull that is always pleased to see him. What displeases him is seeing non-close combat styles being passed off as military close combat when they are not. He has had the displeasure of observing combined knife, stick and empty hands fighting arts, training and demonstrations to people that know no better and believe what they are seeing is real close combat, when that could not be further from the truth, and that is something that truly makes his jaw drop in disgust. There are some unscrupulous types that use innuendo and dubious credentials that try and baffle the gullible with bullshit. They are more marketing geniuses than anything, and their techniques are often worthless in the real world. There are people out there that make outrageous claims, both civilians and those that have served, including using the bare hands to kill a dangerous enemy, even though they are armed with a primary and backup weapon, which makes no sense and could only be considered suicidal. The reality is, in Leo's world, the real deals don't publicly make such outrageous claims, and why would they want such information in the public domain except for self-marketing purposes? They may well cause themselves to come under official scrutiny and investigation. He laughs as he says, "You would think that there must be millions of military elite operators and police special task force personnel with all those that lay claim to have served with such specialist services. They think that no one will ask the hard questions and expose them for what they are." He goes on to say that those that are of integrity and honesty won't pass themselves off as something they are not, and everyone should be striving to be the best at what they are good at and not making out they are good at some things they are not. For the most part, there is very little known about operational primary close combat tactics and skills, and for good reason. But this is a double-edged sword, as it enables those that have never been there and done that to make out they are something they are not. The video footage from the foiled heist has been viewed tens of millions of times and is available online. This being the case, the following questions I put to Leo are more about the decision-making and decided options execution and reasoning for his effective actions under threat neutralization. Through his prior training, he makes himself familiar with the modus operandi of the enemy, and in this case, the urban criminal enemy. Through training and high repetition practice, as well as awareness through prior actions on and high intensity specific training, he knows what to look for and what to expect. Even before the job starts, in his mind's eye, he is contemplating what to look out for and courses of action to keep him and his partner safe and ensure they get back home. He remains vigilant, constantly scanning the environment using his rear vision mirrors and being aware of trailing and side flank vehicles. He watches for the telltale signs of aggressive actions, including lookouts, backup vehicles, and shooters. Even though he was alert and aware of his surroundings and vehicles around him, the first indicator of actions on was when the first shots were fired, and there were a lot of shots fired. As Leo says, See, these guys know what they are up to, and their objective is to stop and take out anyone in their way and seize the cargo. Immediately, Leo turned on all his combat and counteraction assessment and decision-making capabilities and went on the offensive. His senses were heightened, and his controlled tactical respiration was turned on to control hormonal dumping and the effects of actions on stresses. This capability enabled him to keep an open mind, be aware of his surroundings, including the criminals' vehicles and their changes of tack. He did not only take deliberate action, but also gave his partner instructions on what he needed him to do. He said his partner in his first week on the job had shown considerable courage, and any armchair self-proclaimed expert who said otherwise is full of shit. He was looking for telltale signs of criminal vehicles and their occupants, as well as their positioning in relation to his vehicle. He was especially preparing to deal with rear flank vehicles and driver side approaching vehicles. While his vehicle was hardened, it did not have any gun ports, making return fire impossible. This left him with the only weapon being the vehicle he was driving by evasive and aggressive driving, including ramming the criminals' vehicles. He had a plan B, already decided if his vehicle should be disabled, and that would be to tactically debus and take the fight to the bad guys in the street. Leo's pre-visualization began before he started his job, before the first shot was fired, so he was ready, prepared, and willing to do what needed to be done. He braked hard, swerved towards them, kept them on the left side away from the driver's side, combined with other important tactics to maximize his safety and set up a means of neutralizing the criminals' vehicles. Keeping the vehicles behind them made him and his partner harder targets and more difficult to be stopped in their forward travel. He identified opportunity or set up the opportunity through his aggressive driving to ram their vehicles or attempt to run them over when they made the mistake of getting out of their vehicles on the road. He was always thinking ahead of what to do next, describing it like two hula hoops with his need to be on the inside. Covering the inside line forced the criminals to have to react to his actions from the outside, and this caused doubt and delayed decision-making in their minds in relation to what was happening and what he was doing. His initial actions were instinctive through planning, preparation, and being armed with knowledge, and this provided him with an edge and advantage when he braked hard and employed an aggressive maneuver at the white pickup that would be responsible for taking the merchandise, including trying to run them over. His aggressive actions driving enabled him to clip the Audi with the shooters, as well as taking offensive actions against the courier van. When he saw the Audi turn around, he doubled back and continued his offensive driving actions directed at both the vehicle and the criminals. Leo knew what he had to do and was driven by controlled aggression that powered him with nothing less than an attitude at that moment in time of winning at all costs. He employed a ramming maneuver at one of their vehicles, forcing it into the concrete barriers. Eventually, Leo's vehicle went down when it became stuck on rounded concrete barriers. He immediately took the primary weapon from his partner, debussed, and went after the only person left in the Audi, who was the driver, who had left his vehicle and was running for his life. Leo had a major leg injury and as such could barely run, but this did not stop him, as he knew he had to take the fight to them, and soon realized that he had all but put an end to his aggressors' attempts at taking him and his partner out. Keeping moving as long as he could, being evasive and offensive gave him the upper hand and ended the actions on. Leaving their vehicles was not unexpected to Leo, as he well knew the vehicles would have been stolen for the heist and as such had no value to them. After the contact, he employed coming down and calling off controlled respiration to control the effects of hormonal dumping, emotion, and the enormity of the faced actions on, and being successful in the objective achievement of protecting their cargo and not being wounded or killed. The criminals were smart but not smart enough or well enough trained to take out Leo and his partner and get their hands on the cargo. They dropped their weapons, left their vehicles, and ran for their lives, knowing that it would be unlikely that they would get shot being unarmed and running away. Leo was well aware of their modus operandi and tactics, and by use of his expertise and long experience, combined with his using his tactics and skills, including his brain to boot mental toughness practices, was able to make tactically correct decisions, including inside rules of engagement and laws of self-defense, testament to his mental toughness and maintaining a professional status. He explained, even though situations can change up or down quickly, through planning, preparation, practice, and a mentally tough, controlled, aggressive attitude, you have the best chances of objective achievement and keeping yourself safe. Everything is made possible through mental toughness capabilities combined with best specialist tradecraft practices that are principle-based, allowing for adjustments and changes to deal with specific threats, including changes in threat types and the need for real-time fast mapping assessment and employment of contingency options. You must not lose momentum, and contingency options need to be cohesive to avoid hesitation and, as such, presenting yourself as a static target through loss of momentum. Deliberate actions cause enemy confusion, especially when there are multiple vehicles and multiple players involved, and there is no time for their use of communication devices. They have to look, think, and act not only for themselves and with their vehicles in mind, but also for their other partners in crime and their vehicles. Leo knew they were his entire enemy, and he was the sole source of their demise, and as such only had to think for himself, his partner, and their vehicle. He had trust in his tactics and skills. He was driven by an uncompromising decision to neutralize the threat they presented and achieve his objectives. He knew his capabilities and his kit, as well as having trust in his equipment, which was highlighted by looking towards the enemy as they fired on his driver's side window while taking deliberate ramming action against them. Under threat, through prior training and an uncompromising commitment to be the best operator he could be, Leo never doubted that he would overcome the threat and defeat them, protecting his cargo, himself, and his partner. I would like to thank Leo for this very honest and to the point insight into the major and minor aspects of the strategies that saw him put a stop to hostilities by his intestinal fortitude and affirmative actions. Although he is not accustomed to or seeks unwanted notoriety, the events of that day have revealed an insight into the realities of real-life actions on and the skill sets and mindset required to neutralize formidable foes.